Have you ever stopped and wondered why our planet is just covered in green plants, but top predators, like lions or eagles, are actually pretty rare? Well, the answer isn't just about who's bigger or stronger. It all comes down to a simple, incredibly powerful number that governs the flow of life in every single ecosystem. This question right here, it's basically the heart of ecology. It's all about understanding this intricate dance between every living thing, from the tiniest microbe in the soil to the biggest whale in the ocean. And today, we're going to unravel some of the fundamental rules of that dance.
But, okay, before we can really get into the rules of the game, we've got to know the players and the playing field, right? So, let's start by defining our biological neighborhood. So the biggest concept is the environment, and it's this huge, complex tapestry woven from absolutely everything that surrounds us. You've got the living threads, what we call biotic, plants, animals. And then there are the non-living or abiotic threads, things like sunlight, water, and the very air we breathe.
And this right here is the fundamental principle of it all. Nothing, absolutely nothing exists on its own. Every single organism, from a single-cell bacterium to a giant sequoia tree, is deeply, deeply connected to everything else in this vast, intricate web of life.
Okay, so if we zoom in from that huge environment, we find an ecosystem. And a great way to think about an ecosystem is like a bustling, totally self-contained city. It's got its own power source, the sun. It's got its own factories, the plants. It has its residents, the animals. And it has a super efficient recycling plant, the decomposers.
And every one of these cities has its own cast of characters, and each one has a really crucial role to play. So, let's meet the key players in this incredible drama of life.
So the cast is basically divided into three main groups. First up, you've got the producers. These are the powerhouses of the ecosystem, capturing the sun's energy and turning it into food. Next are the consumers, kind of like the shoppers, who get their energy by eating other organisms. And finally, you've got the cleanup crew, the decomposers.
This quote really puts their role into perspective. I mean, without decomposers, our planet would literally be buried under layers and layers of dead stuff. They are the essential recyclers of life, breaking down all that waste and returning vital nutrients to the soil. It ensures that absolutely nothing is wasted in nature's grand design. All right, so now we get to the main event of our explainer. This is the secret rule that shapes every single ecosystem on the planet. And to really get it, we need to follow the flow of energy.
You see, the entire architecture of life is built around how energy gets transferred from one organism to another. And the main path that energy takes is what we all know as the food chain.
So in this classic food chain, solar energy is captured by the grass. That energy then flows to the deer that eats the grass, and then it goes on to the lion that eats the deer. But, and this is the crucial part, not all of the energy from that grass makes it into the lion. Not even close.
This is the 10% rule in action. On average, only about 10% of the energy from one level of the food chain gets stored and passed on to the next. And this one simple fact has some pretty profound consequences for the structure of all life on Earth.
Think of it like this. Imagine the energy at one level is a pizza with 10 slices. The organism at the next level only gets to eat one of those slices. The other 9, they're used up just for daily life, or they're lost as heat. And this massive energy loss is why food chains rarely go beyond 4 or 5 steps. There's just not enough energy left. It's also why there's this invisible pyramid of life, with a huge base of producers supporting a tiny, tiny number of top predators.
So energy flows through an ecosystem like a one-way street, and it eventually runs out. But what about the actual physical stuff? The atoms that build life itself? Well, that's where nature's absolutely incredible recycling system comes into play.
Here's probably the best way to think about it. Energy is like a currency. It gets spent at each step, and eventually it's gone. But matter, the carbon, the nitrogen, the water, that's more like a library book. It gets checked out, it's used, and then it's returned to the system over and over and over again for millions of years.
These are nature's grand recycling programs, what scientists call biogeochemical cycles. They're constantly moving water, carbon, and other essential elements through both the living and non-living parts of our world. They are, without a doubt, the true lifeblood of our planet.
So we've seen how energy flows, and we've seen how matter cycles. But there's one species whose actions have a bigger impact on these delicate systems than any other in history. And yeah, that's us.
We are the planet's ultimate consumers, and we have the unique power to alter entire ecosystems on a global scale. So the question isn't just where we fit, but what our responsibility is inside this incredibly delicate balance.
The thing is, human activities, like large-scale deforestation and pollution, can severely disrupt the natural flow of energy and the cycling of matter. And these disruptions have really far-reaching consequences, not just for the environment, but for our own health and our own survival.
But here's the good news. We also have the power to make a positive difference. By embracing the principles of reducing our consumption, reusing materials whenever we can, and recycling what's left, we can really lessen our footprint and help restore the natural balance of these vital systems.
And in the end, it all just comes down to this one core truth. We aren't separate from nature, we are an integral part of it. And understanding the rules that govern it, from the flow of energy to the cycling of matter, shows us that by protecting the environment, we are ultimately protecting ourselves and ensuring a healthy, stable planet for all the generations to come.